it's about I wanted to make this video to explain and show all of the equipment that I'm using and the thought process I use when I go into each run. As I get things set up, I'm pretty particular at the very beginning of the run because little things after an hour or two build on each other and exacerbate. So I'm making this video about 300 miles, a little over 300 miles into the run, so I've had an opportunity to sort through what works, what doesn't work, make some modifications, but so I'm going to kind of walk through it from feet to top here and explain the gear and my thought process behind everything. So starting with the feet, well, I've had this blister on the left foot now for a couple hundred miles, so I put a piece of duct tape on the second digit to reduce the friction. That seems to have been working. I don't think it's a fault of the shoes. Maybe the socks are getting a little too tight and I didn't address it early enough. But I do like the socks. I'm wearing Bombas socks. Good company. For every pair that you buy, they donate a pair to I believe it's underserved populations, so that's pretty cool. They've got a nice little lip on the back that holds against the Achilles area. They've got some other seamless features to them. They fit real comfortably, and I've been wearing those the whole time. My shoes, I run with the Ultras. These are the pair that I just retired. What I like about them is that they're this orange rubber is like their harder rubber. This is the rubber that you want to make contact with the surface, and then that foam stuff is what's will wear real. That provides the cushion, but it'll wear really easily. So what I like is that their harder, durable rubber runs the full span and follows each toe line. You can see I'm a big supinator. I hit the outside, that wore out. On the other shoe, it actually wore through the orange rubber. That's why I decided to retire them. But these are the Torin 4 plushes. They're made for people who supinate. I believe they're a neutral shoe style. And what's one of the neat things you can see here is they've got a really wide toe box. That's a feature that Ultra believes in. They're also zero drop, so from the heel to the toe, there's no drop. Typical drop is maybe 6 to sometimes 10 millimeters. What this forces is mid to forefoot strike versus the heel strike, and I believe it helps lessen the impact on your feet with repetitive running because it adds extra joints to absorb the load. A little tough to get used to initially because it does force more Achilles tension because you're using that ankle joint more. But I've run 300 miles in less than a half a month in them, and it's been doing pretty good. So those are my shoes. I'm really particular on lacing. I've been trying to find white out and I can't. That'd be really nice so I could tension them to the same tension. But I typically like to have the right one a little bit looser than the left. My shoes are so loose when I'm running that you could slip them off. I have slipped them off. That's what works for me. I can't have them too tight. As far as the clothes on my body, I have really only worn the singlet and these shorts. There's no underwear. These have that built-in liner, and I literally bought the cheapest shorts I could find on Amazon, and that's what these are. They are, I think, TSLA is the brand. Usually they're a 5-inch inseam, but I think they make a 4. I lost my orange pair, but these have a pocket. They've got a little zipper deal for a wallet or whatever. happy with them so far. The singlet as well was a really cheap purchase on Amazon. What I love is like these are just so thin, this fabric, and I haven't had any chafing from the material. My chest, I think because I have the chest air, has been a little burning a little bit, but the Body Glide seems to be helping. But yeah, so just the singlet and this, and then on the shoulder straps from the backpack go over the top nicely. So that's what I've been wearing there. Kind of one of the tricks I learned mountaineering is that you're kind of tempted to, especially in the morning, put on extra layers, because when you're sitting there and your body's not up to temperature, you're a little cold. But that's just something that you have to know, that after about 5 minutes you're going to warm up. So I try to you keep a layer on till right before you run, and it's the last thing you do is you take that off, put it in your backpack, and then start running. So what I have is a really lightweight windbreaker by Marmot, just a few ounces, and this one's got a hood on it. I like hoods because it's a cheap way to add an extra layer of warmth, because we lose most of our heat through our neck and our head, and if we can seal that off, we can add some extra warmth for not much extra bulk. So this is often how I'll start. Let's take this off before I go. So the next order of business is my backpack. This is just an old Camelback that I had that has a water reservoir built into it. It's got some things that I think have been helpful for running. So it's got straps on the side that are tightenable, and so I tighten everything down as tight as I can so that there's less jiggling. You can see the foam is wearing out here. This has a chest strap, and then I bought some 2-inch webbing and sewed that in. Bought the little latch, just threads in, and I normally have it all set up, but yesterday I just took the whole thing off. But this goes right kind of below my ribs, and this prevents that bouncing. The heaviest thing that I'm carrying is my Camelback, or the water reservoir, and that can bounce quite a bit. And so everything goes in there. This is a 3 quart, I believe, a 70 ouncer, so it's a 2 liter. I usually put about between 16 and 32 ounces. I plan it out. So like yesterday, I only ran I ran 10 miles, and I knew I was going to stop, so I didn't fill this thing up much because I knew I'd get some more water. There's quite a bit of weight to just be carrying around in your back if you don't need to. And so then one of the other things that I do is, because this kind of fills like this, and you fill it up. Of course, I'm going to make a mess now. But what you end up having is, when you fill it up, you get a lot of air in the tank. So what I do is, right after I fill it, I tip the whole thing upside down like this. I squeeze the valve there, and I bleed out all the air. So then I have something a little bit more solid. So that way, when I put this in my backpack, I can't hear and I can't feel that water sloshing around with all the air in there. So I get rid of all the air. Learn that after like the second day. As far as what goes in the backpack, headlamp possibly. I haven't been very good at getting up early enough to do that. This is a rechargeable LED light that goes on my backpack. That one's pretty bright. Got the brightest one I could find, and it's been lasting for 6 to 7 hours. So that goes on there. I have an emergency soft flask with just maybe 6 ounces of water in it. So I can't tell when this reservoir is empty until I've sucked in air. And so, you know, that might be a few miles from where I need to get water. So I always have that. I always bring my phone charger because I'm usually towards 20% or less when I'm done. Sunglasses, deodorant, carry that so that it's not so unpleasant for the people giving me a ride back. I've got my wallet, obviously credit card and such. I've got a knife. That's pretty much my only defense out here. Chapstick. I've been carrying a spare of socks and then a Ziploc to throw a phone or whatever in if I need to, if it really starts pouring. That's a poop bag. It's got special powder in it to keep the odor down. And then I carry some portable wipes. It's kind of gross, but these are really helpful for this kind of situation because it does a better job of cleaning than dry paper. As far as the other, I guess, piece of gear that I have on me, other than the backpack, I have this waist pack that's made by Nathan. This was made or designed by an ultra guy who hates the typical systems because they jiggle around. So I'll put this on in a second, but this is pretty slick because it holds my phone in the front. I've got my whatever I'm carrying, so I've got the white tablets are electrolytes, and then the blues are Advils. I keep that on the right side. These are kind of some of my mainstays of fuel when I'm running. I really like these Honey Stinger wafers, waffles. The Cliff gel shots with caffeine are really nice towards the end. And I like these for my breaks when I'm running. I can break this thing in half and just kind of nibble on it. It's basically like a little bit denser than a fruit roll-up, but these type of fruit things I really like because I tried like a power bar type thing the first day and I couldn't swallow it while I was still running, and I was having to drink a ton of water, and then I got a bellyache. So this is what's been working for me. And now when I have the waffles, I just stop. But 1 or 2 of those goes in the pouch here on the side. And then this actually has a pouch in the back, and that's actually made for that soft flask, but I keep that in the backpack. Just because my backpack is rubbing against here. You can even see it's worn a hole in right there. And this Velcro is kind of wearing off because of the abrasion. So I'm actually going to use some dental floss and sew that shut, so that's not a factor tomorrow because it's kind of worn a hole in my skin on my back. So other than that, before I take off, I use a checklist and I make sure I have everything done on that checklist. The last couple items is putting on stuff on my skin. So I put this Body Glide in the growing area, under my kind of inside of my arms and on my chest, and the other day I put it on my tailbone. It works really good. And then I apply sunscreen on the backs of my legs, the backs of my neck, or the back of my neck, backs of my arms, because I'm always running north and the sun's always on my back, so I don't worry about the front too much. And then I want to say last but not least, but these are my new friends. These are Aftershokz. They're bone conducting headphones, and I absolutely love them. They're made for runners, and what's neat about them is they conduct on the bone just in front of your ear canal, and then it leaves your ear canal open so that you can hear traffic behind you. So you can actually have a conversation with someone while listening to music. You just kind of have to kind of multitask. But they've been lasting the entire time, at least 7 hours of constant play, which is pretty impressive. They're a little expensive, I got their latest and greatest ones, which apparently has titanium, making it a little bit lighter. They do have a pair though that's maybe their first version. That's about 80 bucks at REI. So yeah, so now I'm gonna put all this stuff together and on, and I'll show you all the little adjustments that I have to make. Oh, I almost forgot my headwear. So I haven't been wearing sunglasses the past couple days, even when it's sunny, because I'm always facing north, and for me, having less things that can move around has been more convenient. It's less to adjust, especially with as much as I've been sweating, and it hasn't really adversely affected me. So I've been going without sunglasses, although I have them. You can see I have this mirror here. This is a biker's mirror, and so it's got just a little, you can see just a little mirror that I can adjust. So whether I'm running on the right or the left side or even hitchhiking, it works really well. I can see behind me. And then my hat, I didn't think I'd be able to tolerate wearing a hat running and sweating, but I have been. It's also kind of important because it holds the mirror. But yeah, I've been wearing the same hat the whole time. And I got that bald spot, so it keeps the sun off that. I don't run with the necklace, otherwise it would be bouncing around and be annoying. Okay, so now I've got everything on. Got the waist pack on. So I've got everything in there. Ultimately, the phone which I'm using to make this video goes right in this front pocket here, and that's super slick, it's super accessible for me. I always put it in the same way, so I've got my volume controls. I take it out, put it back the same way. I try to do everything out of habit, so I don't have to think, because when I'm really tired, I don't want to think about anything. So coming up with a good habit pattern is good. Kind of another rule of thumb of mine is I always close a zipper when after I've opened it. Even if I take something out, I always close it, because I can't tell you how many things I've lost over the years, but it's leaving zippers open, so I try not to be lazy when it comes to that. This little webbing that I put on, I feel really grateful that I thought of it. You can kind of see here without it. Look at the backpack. So if I were to run, I got all this movement on the shoulders. With each step, it's bouncing around. I have it on. It's really not even that tight. It's just snug, provide just a little bit of tension. We don't have any movement now, so that's really helpful, especially when there's a bunch of water in there. I got the chest strap tightened. Got my nozzle off here. This is really nice, so I don't have to stop to get water. I can just take a sip, put it back, shut the valve, adjust my mirror, and I'm set. The last thing that I often forget, but I'm reminded of it pretty quickly, is these straps to tighten the backpack. You can see how they kind of sit loose here like this. Each time I run, I've developed a process for just looping these around, because after a couple miles of this, it's kind of annoying. So what I do is I loop it around, and I do it just like this every time. So every time I take the backpack off, it unravels. So I have to redo that. But that's my process. That's what's been working. I hope it continues to work.